before?
Yes, so Eduardo is there with us. He's gonna do the a little bit talk a little bit about Robotech, and then he can introduce us.
Good. Good. So initially,
yes, so Eduardo
and you are going to
is there with us. He's gonna do the a little bit talk a little bit about Robotech. Okay, so introduce us. Good. So we are live.
Good. So initially,
yes, so Eduardo
and you are going.
Okay, Eduardo, ¿estás ahí? He left. He was in this one. So I'll start admitting everyone.
So there's still 5 minutes, so people can keep joining, and we're going to let another couple of minutes after 8 o'clock for anybody who is a little bit late. So for the time being, for the next 5, 7, 8 minutes, we just going to stay and keep preparing things. We're not going to start right now.
Yeah, so I'm sharing the link with everyone.
Just requesting everyone to keep those who are not in the organizers and don't need to speak. Can you please keep yourself on mute so that we don't have unnecessary noise or sound? Thank you. Maria Anjum, can you put yourself on mute, please?
I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are.
And Anna doesn't need any other thing, right? She doesn't need to have any other verification. I guess.
Delphin, you're going to make me the host for the time when the real meeting starts?
Ana, ¿le podrías hacer co-host a Aftab?
Zemina, can you please put yourself on mute? Dr. Zemina.
Listo. Ya es co-host.
Okay, so you're co-host now, Aftab.
Thank you. Just check with Eduardo. When is he joining us?
Yeah, I just sent him that in there.
So if any join request comes, besides myself, somebody else should be handling that, please. Okay, because I'll be busy talking, etc.
Yes.
So Anna, you, Delphin, you can do that.
Yes, I'll be admitting, and then I'll be looking out for any questions they have and so on.
Welcome, April. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. How are all of you?
We good. Excited. Thank you.
Good morning, April.
Good morning.
So.
There's still a couple of minutes to for the meeting to start, and then we'll give another couple of minutes for people to join, just in case they're having some kind of technical issue in joining. So when we do start, we're going to do a little bit of quick introduction of the co-hosts, and Eduardo, Delphin, and myself will do that. And Dr. Asma, I will request you to say a few words about your university as the co-host, please. Dr. Asma is with us. I thought she joined us. In the meantime, everyone, please put yourself on mute if you haven't already. Wow, what a scary picture. Zoha.
Hello.
Zoha, where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan, born and raised.
Are you an educator?
No, I'm not. I'm a student in Ahmed University, MBA program.
LUMS. You study at LUMS?
No, Khan, I'm AKU. I'm sorry for the really scary cat picture. It's so entertaining and I relate to it.
Yeah.
It's yelling.
I think you scared the internet providers perhaps because your voice wasn't coming clearly.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just the internet issues these days. They knocked out some wires outside our house, and I'm so grateful that they fixed it. But ever since then, the internet quality has been trash, and I'm just struggling. So I'm gonna turn off the video so I don't take up the rest of the meeting and ruin the internet quality. But it was lovely meeting you, and I do apologize for the impromptu scare with the cat.
No, I enjoyed it. I think you changed the mood. Instead of being scared, you're now scared of.
Well, I'm just, it's such a mood, you see that cat and you're like, oh, did keep on. Like all of my cats are just running around and they're yelling, so they always pull that face at me and I pull it back. So,
Right. So we're just about to start the meeting. I was just letting a couple of minutes to pass for everybody to join, whoever is going to join us. I do expect, obviously, as usual, that some people might be joining us late, but we're not going to hold back the proceedings for them. We will have to start respecting everybody else's time. So we're just going to wait for another minute or so. And Delphin is Eduardo. Yes, I can see him. So he's with us. And in just about a minute more, I'm going to start the proceeding. Everybody else, please put yourself on mute.
I don't know
All
if it's me. Yeah, okay.
Ji, Dr. Asma. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the group.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. It's such a pleasure to see all of you here.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
So as I was saying earlier, everybody please put yourself on mute. We're just about to start the proceedings. And Dr. Asma, just before you joined, I was just saying that I'm going to request Eduardo and Delphin to say a few words to introduce the hosts, which are EGB4 Technologies and American Association of Robotics and Technology. And similarly, I'm going to request you as well, Dr. Asma, to say a few words about the Lahore College for Women University. So let's start now. And I'm going to, in fact, because it should be ladies first, and it is Women in STEM Careers initiative. So I'm going to, first of all, ask Dr. Asma yourself to please begin the meeting.
Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to all of you here, and to EGB4 Technologies and American Association of Robotics, because it is because of them that we are all here for this wonderful webinar. I'm very grateful to Mr. Aftab for arranging this webinar and this very pertinent theme for, STEM for all. In fact, for a moment, I felt that maybe I shouldn't be here because I'm not from a STEM background. But then I was like, I was assured that yes, STEM is for everyone. So just to give you a little background information, I'm representing Lahore College for Women University. It is one of the largest women university in Asia and also in Pakistan. So we have a student strength of about 15,000 students on our campus. And then we also have affiliated colleges and other campuses where we have students. And we have about 45 departments in our university. So it's pretty huge. And in amongst those, we have, Dr. Aksa is here. She will be talking about her department, electrical engineering. Dr. Maria Anjum is here, computer sciences. So we have, several faculties of sciences, natural sciences, social sciences, and, engineering and technology, and amongst them, all the departments that we have. So recently, and I am representing the Department of Elementary and Teacher Education, which is not a science department, but we are preparing pre-service and in-service teachers for, the education careers. And teaching of science is one of the most important things that they do. And in my capacity to improve my teachers' quality of education, I stumbled upon STEM and STEAM education, and I realized that the interdisciplinary approach is the way forward for the future, and this is what we need to promote. And very fortunately, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Aftab Khan, who then made me sort of realize that yes, this is a field which can be introduced to very young children as well. And that gave me the confidence that I can also be a part of a STEM women in STEM event, and I can, so we took this step forward and we came up with a MOU with EGB4 Technologies, and Aftab Saab is representing that over here in Pakistan. And this is our first initiative under that partnership, and we are looking forward to having many more such opportunities to extend our training. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Asma. Very good. We will now move on to Eduardo, who is representing the American Association of Robotics and Technology. Eduardo, can you please say a few words?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me from Austin, Texas, States, to give you the welcome for this webinar. It's one of the main goals from our American Association. It's a non-profit organization in around 16 countries right now. And the idea is to support all the teachers, all the students, and all the schools in order that they can be part of the STEM programs, because it's a big necessity around the world that the future children have enough training in this kind of areas, because the world needs more people that develops and create technologies, as you know, in these situations. So for me, it's a pleasure to have you, and we have all the support, and we are glad to help people, to help the teachers and the students, because most of the important situation now around the world is that we must to train the teachers, because most of the kids, so they already have the skills, the abilities to develop that training for them. So I think that we have a very important goal, and to help and support all the teachers around the world. Thank you so much, Aftab. Thank you so much, everyone, to have this opportunity, and we can share all this knowledge with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eduardo. And now let me bring Delphin into the discussion. Delphin, can you please say a few words about EGB4 Technologies?
Good morning and good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I know we're in all over the world, so good to everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and this one of these events that we want to do for everyone to be able to know more about us and also how we can make a positive impact. So about EGB4, we are a company based in Austin, Texas. We are in 27 countries now, and we are here to support all the educators and teachers who are looking into the tools to be able to help their students and their organizations to train our future generations. So again, thank you everyone. And this is gonna be a great session. I hope you enjoy it. And please reach out to Aftab, myself, or Eduardo if you have any questions. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Let's start the topic for today's meeting, which is STEM for all. And basically, we all understand what's going on around the world in terms of digital transformation and how it is affecting everybody in all fields, in all professions. And therefore, we as educators, we see that STEM education is something that can help students and teachers in coping up with this change and in being able to learn and acquire those 21st century skills that will help them in many different ways. So the question is, if STEM education is important, if it is useful, do we as educators around the world, do we understand what is STEM education and what are the ways in which it is currently or the reasons or the causes in which it is currently not so accessible to all the different types of learners? And are even teachers aware that there are some hurdles, some roadblocks that keep students and teachers from fully benefiting from STEM education? So this is what we are talking about, and we have assembled a very good group of panelists today who are very accomplished individuals. This entire meeting is under the umbrella of Women in STEM Careers. So the entire panel consists of ladies. They are all educators. We have one or two students as well, so that we can hear from them too. And the purpose of today's meeting is to come out with very specific insights based on their experiences. So the questions that we're going to be asking are directed at their own experiences, and we are very keen to listen and learn from each one of them. And then based on that, we are going to develop and design specific programs that we can take to the schools, to the universities, and help the educators in those institutions overcoming those hurdles that I mentioned. So what are those hurdles and what are the best practices? Let's start the discussion. Let me first introduce our moderator for today. Her name is Mubashira Manzoor, and she is the treasurer of the Women in Engineering Wing in Lahore of IEEE. Also, she's a lecturer at a university in Lahore, University of South Asia. So Mubashira, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Sir Aftab. We'll start our session by welcoming all the lovely ladies that we have. So our keynote speaker, April Leonard, is the STEM integration lead. She is in STEM integration lead for NASA's aeronautical research. She's basically the integration lead at NASA's Aeronautical Research Mission Directorate. And at her job, what she is doing is she is providing the facility to the teachers and students and
Mubashira, we have lost your voice, so it's probably an internet issue. I think Mubashira has just now introduced April, so let me hand over the mic to April. April is the STEM integration lead at NASA, and she has been...
I'm sorry, probably disconnected. I hope I was audible during that. I'm not really
It's
sure.
all right.
All
It's
right.
all right. So let's allow April to speak. April, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, April, I would ask you to, I would like to ask that it is often perceived that people, those who are accomplished, they hardly face any challenges in their lives and their journey was really smooth. Was this the case with you? Can you share your challenges with us?
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks for the opportunity to allow me to be a part of this great group. And I'd love to answer your question. And I think oftentimes we see accomplished people in STEM in particular, and we think that it all went smoothly through our studies, through the challenges that that we've faced. And I think oftentimes students have difficulty feeling like they can be a part of STEM fields because perhaps they struggle. So I'll give a personal anecdote to show how that was the same with me as well. So going through school, I always had a love for aviation and for space and for STEM subjects in general. I felt like my math skills were not as high as some of my colleagues and some of my peers. And so I felt when I was younger that perhaps I didn't belong in a STEM field. And it wasn't until later when I pushed through, when I kept studying. I'm still not the fastest mathematician out there. I get through it, but it takes me a little longer. But I realized as I got older that it wasn't speed that was really important. So for me, I struggled with my own confidence and my own ability to do what I needed to do. And so I would recommend, as we work with our young people and getting them interested in STEM, to share your struggles with other people so that they understand that it was not an easy road for you either, that there were times when you doubted yourself, that there were times when you felt like perhaps you didn't fit in, but that you persevered and you pushed through. And I think allowing students to see our shortcomings or our nervousness about different challenges we've faced will really go a long way in letting those students who are already doubting their own abilities see that that's okay to doubt. You just keep pushing, and it might be a little rocky, but you'll get there.
Thank you so much. Our second guest, Dr. Asma Kazi. She's an assistant professor in the Department of Elementary and Teacher Education, Faculty of Education at Lahore College for Women University. Ma'am, welcome. I would like to ask that, as a female student, did you have any doubts that you will have a career in STEM, about your career in STEM? Am I audible? Dr. Asma. I think, Dr. Asma, your mic is.
I'm not audible. Yes, my mic was still mute. We tend to get a little overcautious and then, forget that our mics are mute. So, yes, I always had a doubt about having a STEM career. And like many others, I did not pursue a science career. And I would like to share my experience, just like April did, that when I was a young child, I struggled at math maybe in grade 4 and 5. And from then onwards, I was somehow made to believe that, I don't have the aptitude for science, whereas I love biology. But when it came to physics, chemistry, and mathematics, somehow I was always struggling. And I would like to attribute this inhibition to my teachers more than anything else, because they are unapproachable and they don't have much empathy towards students. They tend to give more attention to those students who are smarter, and those who are not are generally made to feel that they should opt for other subjects. Also because teachers tend to be too strict, at least in our part of the country, and it's very difficult to approach them and tell them that you are having an issue, and they take a personal offense if you tell them that you haven't understood a particular subject. So I struggled, and eventually, I had to change my field. I didn't opt for a science career, and I switched to literature and then eventually education. And interestingly, when I was doing my PhD in education, when I had to study advanced statistics, it was not an issue for me because there I was using that knowledge conceptually. So I realized that I was never taught well and I was never encouraged enough. It was when I was thrown into the deep that I had to, find a way out, and I managed to do that. And also because teachers tend to promote a certain kind of stereotype, certain fields are for men and not for women, and if you are not doing well, so you should, forget about it. And within my family also, I had a family of very high achievers, doctors and engineers. But when I struggled in science, they were also like, bichari, that is like poor girl, like she can't study sciences. So never mind, we can get her married off early, that kind of thing. And pursuing higher education in the social sciences was never considered as an option. So these are the experience which I feel, never let me have a STEM career. But here I would like to share another experience that I had in my capacity as as the head of the teacher education program, and we are particularly dealing with free service teachers who are training elementary students. And we introduced STEAM and STEM for our undergraduate students and some of our pre-service teachers who are teaching early childhood education. And there I realized, the beauty of interdisciplinary themes and the subjects and how STEM education can be made accessible to everyone. So yes, I feel that we need more encouragement at every step of our life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing such thoughtful experiences. I would now like Bushra Naeem. Dr. Bushra Naeem is Associate Professor and the Head of Information Technology Department in the Balochistan University of Information Technology, Engineering and Management. She is also she is also an executive member of IEEE, which is Women Engineering Wing, Karachi section, and she has worked as IEEE Women Engineering Chair in from 2019 to 2021. So over to you, Dr. Bushra. And I would like to ask that what are the challenges faced by STEM by the students in STEM education, especially in your part of the area?
Thank you, Mubashra, and I'm very grateful to the hosts for this wonderful initiative and to partner with the IEEE Women in Engineering Karachi as well as BUTIMS. So I will be talking about the challenges faced by the female students in STEM, and I will share my perspective in 3 outlooks. And I am really thankful to April and Dr. Asma, who have already laid a base to what I'm going to share right now. So I'm going to talk about the ratio of male to female students in STEM. And then, of course, I'm going to discuss the challenges faced by the female students. And I would conclude by sharing what I think initiatives can be taken to support the female students in the STEM fields. According to the World Economic Forum, the global female enrollment is particularly low in the STEM fields. Only 3% of students joining IT and ICT courses are women all over the globe. And this percentage gets slightly higher for mathematics and statistics course. So it's 5% for these courses. And further, if we go towards engineering and manufacturing, the ratio becomes 8%. So this is the level.
Your mic is
Yes, there are only 2 females in these fields. It makes them feel a bit uncomfortable. So female students, especially in Asia, they face many challenges. First of all, they are reluctant to speak. This is because of 2 factors. One of them is the lack of confidence, and the second one is communication skills. So the general perception of public is that females can't be in STEM fields, or it is not normal for females to go to the STEM field. And sometimes the females get to hear very weird comments. For example, I'm going to share a story. Last year, one of my students from the telecom engineering department graduated, and she came to me and she said that, ma'am, I have been told by a male teacher of ours that you have graduated now. So what are you going to do? Because you are not going to get a job because you're a female. So what I responded to her was that, look, 10 years back when I did my undergraduate, I was also told exactly same words. But because I did not listen to those people, today I am earning more than that and I'm in a STEM field. So don't take these comments and just carry on with your career. So this is one thing. Another thing is that sometimes women have lack of confidence due to their household responsibilities, and they find it very hard to manage their time because they have to look after their parents, their children, and they have other household responsibilities. So they think that it would be hard for them to choose a STEM field with all these responsibilities, or it might be difficult for them to look after their health if they choose such a field, and that is why they feel that choosing a STEM career is not right for them. So in some countries, this is the general perception, and then the students go for mostly female students opt for the medicine field. And the statistics say that enrollment percentage of females in medicine is up to 80%, which means that they usually prefer to go towards the medicine field. One more challenge that the females face in especially our society or the Asian society is that mostly these societies are male dominated. And it is very difficult for females to step forward without the support of the males. Of course, there are many males who support women in STEM education too, and maybe many of us are here today because we were supported by someone from our family or from our friends. But unfortunately, this is not a very common practice. So these are some of the challenges that I feel they stop mostly females to choose the STEM careers. But there are a few initiatives, few very simple initiatives that if we take, then we can definitely support the female students in STEM. I believe that we need trainings for females and males from early school to normalize the education of females in STEM fields. And we should train females for accepting themselves in STEM fields. And after that, we also need to train the males in the society to accept the females in the STEM fields. And in a nutshell, we only require to train our society as a whole to accept the women in STEM fields because they have proved it that they can do it and they can do it as good as any gender can. So this is my perspective about the difficulties or challenges that female students face in STEM. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bushra. I am going to introduce Dr. Sadia Fatima. She is assistant professor at Aga Khan University, Department of Biological and Biomedical Sciences. I would like to ask ma'am that what are the kind of changes that are needed to update the curriculum in medical universities? What are the curriculum change that you think is required?
Yes, thank you so much, Abashra, and thank you so much, everyone. The panelists have actually laid a very interesting stone for me to, talk about. So I've heard majority of the things that I had in my mind, so I'm not going to repeat them. But there are certain things that have changed. For example, people who are here in the medical community, we are no longer only sticking to science and only sticking to medicine, that's it. What has happened is that many avenues have opened up. For example, robotics in giving patient care, robotics in surgeries, even robotics in lab diagnosis, right? So this is an area where we can explore further and add into our curriculum. Why am I saying that? Because I am sure most of the young generation who's watching this may be familiar with an anime movie called Big Hero 6, where we had Baymax, who was actually responsible for screening out any health issues and then giving proper treatments and so on and so forth. So if that is the projected future, then of course someone from science, technology, maths, everyone else need to sit together in order to program such a robot if it's the future, right? So integration is a must. Then we need the thought process that we had, that people who are doing medicine do not have to do maths at all, which is a misnomer. We have to do maths for every single thing that we sort of treat a patient with. May it be drugs, may it be the levels of blood and XYZ. So maths is not something that we can get rid of. So that has to be incorporated into medical curriculum as such as well. We talk about artificial intelligence these days. We talk about bioinformatics these days. We talk about programming, softwares, all of these things. So if we can just add a little bit of these things as a flavor for our medical students, not only medical, maybe all our undergrad students, then they can actually learn how to integrate things together with what they are learning and what their field is all about, right? So this is something. Regarding AKU, I think AKU is a place which is, we are lucky that we have innovation wing here. We have a wing which works with the artificial intelligence related. We have an avenue where our students can go and actually try to practice things out, tease things out. So students who are interested in STEM, they actually have a place and an avenue to go there. And I'm sure that by listening to all of you experts here and maybe having connections, we can work something out to add something in our curriculum as well, maybe as an elective, not as a compulsory subject, but students who are interested might benefit out of all of this. So these are just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sadia, for showing us a brighter picture as well. You are right that we have a lot of universities working on biomedical engineering and robotics as well. So yes, it's again way ahead. Dr. Akhtar Shabir is an associate professor of electrical engineering and director office of research, innovation, and commercialization at Lahore College of Women University. Ma'am, I would like to ask you that how is the current education system different from STEM education, and how is that affecting students' development at large?
Thank you, Mubashira. Before I start, I would like to congratulate the entire team for setting up this wonderful event and getting up such and forming this team of very eminent panelists, because I know how much effort they had put in. So it's indeed commendable. Firstly, well, with regards to STEM, I believe that STEM education, now there are 2 things. First, there is STEM education, and then there is STEM education for women. I feel that STEM education somehow has not been very unpopular in the developing countries as compared to developed world, for a simple reason that in developing countries, the students have unfortunately had limited choice in selecting the field of study with regards to what they really want to do. It is always driven more by what will lead them to have better employment opportunities. So parents in general, or because also in developing countries, in particular in Asian countries, parents have, I believe, a higher role in what the students ultimately select or what they ultimately study. So the parents have always historically believed, it is of course changing with newer generations, but in the previous generations, it has always been that the parents have believed that if you are, let's say, an academically higher performing child, you should somehow be opting for a STEM field, and that too a medical school or an engineering school. So this, I would say that STEM education has been in that way, not as a matter of choice, but let's say more as a matter of an enforced choice, been more popular in the developing world as compared to the developed world, where I believe that their choice of study or career is not primarily driven with improving the financial condition of an individual or the entire family. So, but however, in the developing country, and that too in Pakistan, now I want to create a bit of a differentiation that in Pakistan, when we talk about STEM in women, that is where the problem has really been, that women have, even in a developing country, have more or less always been discouraged from taking up a STEM field, because as we all know, that traditionally it is considered okay, or even at times it is considered essential that they take up something which is, let's say, non-STEM, because it is believed that that would be less rigorous and they would possibly have more time for their family commitments, or it would possibly make them more feminine if they were, let's say, studying arts, or if they were doing something related to aesthetics. Not that I'm underestimating their importance by saying so. So I think what we have to do here, or what our educational system lacks, is that with regards to men, STEM should be introduced at school level in a way that they choose it or they pick it up as a matter of choice, and not something that is enforced upon them by a parent, or by, let's say, what all your relatives are saying, or by what your so-and-so cousin or elder friend has been, or a neighbor has been doing. So it should be made sufficiently interesting that they choose it as something of their liking, and not because it will lead them to get a better job, which might be true if we look at statistics. But again, if there's no harm in enjoying one's job too, or in having a passion for one's job. And with regards to women, it is both things. With regards to women, it has to be that this equal opportunity has to be provided for them, even by the other stakeholders, which means, let's say, the parents or the society in general, which believes that this could be equally important or equally interesting for them. And also the fact, so it's both things. Their interest is also evoked, and it is also provided to them as an equal opportunity. Now, there, I believe, Mubashir, please let me know if I'm taking more time than what is, let's say, allocated to me. So there,
no, sure, you continue.
Okay, so there I believe that, let's say, in a developing country, and that too, if I talk in context of Pakistan, this change, of course, has to come from the school level, or possibly even earlier than that. It has to start from the house, where the children are introduced to, let's say, activity-based, STEM-based toys, where they're constructing things, they're making things, and it is done equally for both boys as well as girls, without this bias that, let's say, okay, if we have Lego, a boy, it's okay, is building a bridge or is designing a house, and a girl should probably just be playing with those cooking toys and making up a meal which everybody pretends to enjoy. And then, of course, then at once they're school going, and when they're present in school, I think if the focus moved towards implementation than just learning theoretical things, if they're doing less of rote learning, if the focus is less on reproducing or reciprocating what you have learned, and it is more towards activity-based learning, or where they actually see, for instance, anybody who does school level mathematics is, let's say, aware of a quadratic equation. We all learn the quadratic equation. We're all required to reproduce that quadratic equation. However, if from the very basic level, we show those students that what that quadratic equation does around us, or how does it relate to real life applications, that I believe will, this hands-on way of teaching, I think will naturally inculcate an interest in the students, both boys as well as girls, so that they take up a STEM field by choice and not as a matter of compulsion. And secondly, the bias somehow has to reduce for women. And I feel when it comes to bias for women, that is unanimously faced by women in the developed world as well as in the developing world, as April shared her anecdote, as Dr. Asma did, that all of us have, as female, all of us have at some point in our lives experienced that it was somehow believed that if we weren't excelling in a certain scientific or a STEM field, it was basically because perhaps we were women, and women were somehow genetically not, it was assumed genetically not designed to be good at it. And I feel that because now for the moment I'm the director of Office of Research, Innovation, and Commercialization, where I'm responsible for looking at the research projects or grants which our faculty brings in. So I feel that even now that there is a certain bias that if there is a female engineer who holds a very high academic position, applies for a grant and let's say promises as part of that research grant that, look, I will, let's say, make this medical instrument, or I could, for instance, these days, the researchers or academics are very keen on applying for research grants where they can contribute towards COVID-19 pandemic. So I feel with regards to our faculty members that with female engineers or with female scientists wanting to offer the same solution, and when they apply for a grant, there is somehow, somewhere a bias where it is felt that if perhaps a male was doing it or a male research group was asking for it, chances of success would be more. And so that is where a female who already has to put in extra as compared to a man because of her personal obligations, because of her family conditions, and in especially in developing countries because of various societal practices and norms, also has to put in more in her job in a STEM field as compared to a male counterpart. So that's where perhaps one of our other eminent panelists could also comment that what could we as university academics or as individuals do something to, in our little capacity, contribute towards changing this societal mindset. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aksa. It was really comprehensive, and it actually mentioned that what are the challenges, and yes, what can be done with experiential learning, and it certainly has its importance. I would now like to ask Dr. Maria Anjum, who is assistant professor at Department of Computer Sciences, Lahore College for Women University. Ma'am, leading to what Dr. Aksa said, what are the challenges that the country like us, who are developing countries, that they are facing in order to integrate STEM education into their schools? So, what are some of the challenges?
Thank you, Mubashra. This is really indeed a very good question. And before that, I would like to thank all the panelists and the organizers of this event. This is indeed a really great event. So coming back to the question, if we talk about the challenges in terms of how they differ from developed countries and developing countries, I would say that some challenges are the same in both developed and developing countries. For example, access to skilled and trained resources in STEM, pedagogical skills developed in the have the ability for the teachers, introducing active learning in classrooms. So these are the common challenges faced by the developing and developed countries. But we come towards more specifically towards developing countries where they are struggling. It is more related to the budget, the finances involved, infrastructure, and more importantly, the brain drain that is currently happening in these countries. These are really creating hindrance in introducing STEM in developing countries. But if we look towards UNESCO reports, at the same time, some reports coming from Africa, Asia, South Asian countries, East Asian countries, we really see that there is a hope. Because if I put some examples, for example, Ghana has is working with Siemens, tech giants, to introduce STEM at school level. They are training their teachers, and now they are in the position to introduce vocational training at schools in their villages. Similarly, if I talk about Pakistan particularly, TCF, the Citizens Foundation, has recently joined hands with Systems, which is again a software-based company and very famous in Pakistan, to introduce programming in science at school level for science students. This is just a beginning. STEM though covers a very broad spectrum, multidisciplinary areas, but we can say that these initiatives are really making the things, taking the things in the positive direction. Again, coming towards some more examples, in Pakistan, we would say that Lahore College for Women University is a very good example, because the education department is involved in elementary school teaching, and they are using low-cost recycled material to educate non-science students in STEM education. Recently, they have also signed an MOU with EGB4 to introduce technology and introduce STEM education for women in schools and colleges. I think these examples are really very appreciating. They are giving a way forward to move in developing countries. And by analyzing the case studies and their success stories, we can develop a framework, or even we can use and replicate the same strategies in other developing countries to see how we can introduce STEM education. This will be, I think challenges are there. They will remain there, but public-private partnership is a great opportunities for developing countries to move forward. This is from my side. This is my point of view. Because I see in Pakistan, because I am from computer science department, and if I talk about my students, most of them are coming from very underprivileged areas, from villages. And if I talk about technology, they are coming into technology to support their families. So this is a change, but if we see the whole spectrum of STEM, it is just one part, right? So I think in the coming future, I see hope, and I see that there are many initiatives taken within Pakistan and in many other countries, especially Africa and South Asian countries. So I see progress into this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. And Dr. Maria's talk actually burst the bubble that STEM is all about expensive equipment and only available grants, etc. And she also gave us hope that yes, it is possible for everyone. So we move on to Miss Shazia Nasser. She is head School of Linguistics and soft skill trainer at Greenwich University, Karachi. Ma'am, unfortunately, students with learning disabilities, they perform below their non-LD peers in maths and sciences. How can we teach those students, those who have learning disabilities, using STEM approach?
Okay. Hello and assalamu alaikum to everyone. Thank you, American Association of Robotics and Technology, for this wonderful panel discussion on STEM. Like Dr. Asma, I have always been, that like she said that she wasn't a STEM student, so I was like a bit, but then I changed my, I thought that I was not able to do it. But let's start with the learning disabilities. Students with learning disabilities have, first of all, I want to say this thing, that they have average to above average intelligence, but have difficulties in acquiring information and expressing their knowledge. This may be reflected in their speech or in their writing or listening or speaking or performing mathematical calculations. One thing which should be very clear about STEM is what are the purposes. Now, the purpose of STEM or STEAM is, to address societal and personal needs so that everyone who's getting, he or she can become a good citizen. And one more thing is that we need to reconceptualize the STEM education, as all the 4 disciplines, or in STEM and in STEAM 5 disciplines, are a part of our curriculum. But the way how to teach STEM in a curriculum, that is going to make the difference. And therefore, STEM education should be framed as an interdisciplinary instructional approach when teaching STEM-related content. And in this sense, teachers should not only focus on STEM content knowledge, that is what you know, but but they should know that they should be able to tell students that what you can do with what you know. Yes, as you said, that recognizing the students with learning disabilities, and they struggle more with the STEM disciplines as compared to their non-LD peers. But, promising instructional strategies or intervention need to be developed for them in order to enhance their performance in each of the STEM disciplines. And as we know that even those who are non-LD students, they get frustrated. So these LD students, they get more frustrated when, from the unsuccessful experiences, when they're not getting what they have been trying to do. It should be, instead of STEM, it should be for the students with learning disabilities, STEAM is better. Like when you add arts to that, so integrating art with the discipline of science and technology and mathematics, that's going to be more fruitful, and I think the results are going to be more promising for all those students who have certain learning disabilities. One more thing, that all these students who are having these problems, since I am with the education, I've been a teacher since ages, like it's been 27 plus years, and started off as a Montessori teacher, 3 years students, and then now teaching, taking master's classes. So I've seen that everyone, most of the students, like I'm talking about the younger, the elementary, they need some tangible things to understand. And especially students who have learning disabilities, they cannot think anything abstract. So such things, like I just wrote few of the pointers in which we can, achieve these goals, like to teach problem solving skills within science context. For example, problem stories about velocity of a car or body temperature, which they can see for themselves, which they can feel for themselves. And then, generating problem solving skills when engaging in hands-on activities in an engineering class. For example, making a skateboard by measuring and calculating. That's how they're going to learn more. So visually, they are going to be looking at things, and they are going to have this hands-on activities. They're going to be, better in understanding this STEAM education. Then increasing, a very important thing is to keep motivating these students. And we can motivate these students by integrating art and music. We all know that whenever there's music and dance and art, so we all get, happy and excited. So thinking of those kids who are having such problems, so you can well imagine how good they can be in doing, when they're in a happy mood, they will be able to learn more properly. For example, integrating the art and using components into a lesson to facilitate the problem-solving process. For example, sketching pictorial images, frequency and pitch of sound. For example, I was reading somewhere that a teacher was teaching a kid with a learning disability fractions, and it was very abstract for him to learn the numerator or a denominator, 1/2, 3/2. So what she did was she started drumming, the half beat, and then she said, okay, this is the half beat, this is the 3/4 beat. So this is how the students with learning disabilities of our class, they learned fractions. And then promoting flexibility to use various technology whenever needed, for example, iPads or calculators or PowerPoints. Last but not the least, and the most important thing is always make a connection to the real world. And that teachers can do. I always, whenever I go for a soft skill training or for a teacher training to anywhere, around the world, the first thing I say is that the teacher, if you're not a compassionate person, please leave this job there and then. Because without a compassionate heart, without a thorough human being, please do not take any class, especially of the younger kids. And even I'm taking master's classes, and if I'm not a motivating teacher, my students are not going to listen to me. And if I'm not going to, to be friendly with them, and I'm going to be, oh, I'm so strict, that happened with me. I lose interest. I was doing my MSc in chemistry. I lose interest because the teacher was so strict. She was not approachable. And then I switched to master's in English literature. And then I'm now doing my a PhD in education with my research area in learning in disabilities, students with learning disabilities. So the teacher can make or break. That should be the tagline, I think. A teacher can make or break, because 6-7 hours students are in the class, and how can they learn STEM? How can they learn science or technology or engineering or mathematics when the teacher is so far away at a distance? So you need to develop this, relationship with the students, and then the results are going to be fruitful. That's my experience, personal experience. Thank you so much, Mubashra, and thank you so much, Mr. Aftab.
Thank you so much, Shazia. I agree with you a great deal on that STEAM education STEAM is actually the right approach towards teaching for students who have learning disabilities. And yes, since STEAM education is kind of an approach, students can learn at their own pace. We can set the pace accordingly. It's an experiential learning. Yes, so thank you so much for highlighting all these things. I will now introduce Engineer Sana Jafar. Sana is Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Engineering, University of Engineering and Technology, Texas. What are the challenges do females professionals face in STEM careers, and how can girls prepare themselves in schools before they actually go in field? Okay, Sana, am I audible? Okay. I think we lost Sana probably somehow.
Sana, we can't hear you if you're speaking. Yeah, we can move on to Mr. Gupta Mughal.
Sure. So, Mr. Gupta Mughal is a professional teacher trainer and a faculty member in Department of Elementary and Teacher Education, Faculty of Education at Lahore College for Women University. Ma'am, it seems that we need to integrate STEAM education in our schools from an early age. So, you have conducted a study on what in-service teachers think about this. Can you please tell us that what were your findings about it?
Thank you, Mubashira, and thank you, EGB4 and Mr. Aftab for inviting me to this panel. I'm so inspired by what the other panelists have shared so far, and the issues they have highlighted are the ones which I discovered in my research too. We recently conducted a study and published a paper based on a training of early years teacher in the teaching of maths and science by integrating STEAM education. STEAM is basically STEM with an added dimension of arts. So it was a qualitative exploratory study where in-service teachers of different subjects enrolled in a one-year postgraduate diploma in early childhood education program, and they were trained in 3 credit hours. They were assigned many different projects based on problem-based instruction and design thinking for 16 weeks. And although all of them were from different public and private sector schools in Pakistan, their misconceptions about STEAM or STEM were quite similar. After they had attended that module, they shared their transformed perception, and I'm going to talk about that. So the first theme which I discovered was that they acknowledged the gap between what teachers perceived about STEM and what STEAM were actually how they were implemented. The teachers thought that it would not be possible to find a common ground between how they taught in their daily lives and in their schools and how STEAM projects were carried out. So learning by doing and a project-based approach in their own training was key in making them understand and learn the essence of STEAM practices. and they admitted that the study of theory alone would not have changed their perspectives. The second theme pointed out a lack of optimism on the part of teachers about the possibility of real implementation of STEAM pedagogy at school level. This was based on their collective experiences because they felt that there is often talk at the administrative level about updating school practices and introducing methods such as STEM or STEAM, but in reality, their immediate bosses and their coordinators preferred traditional modes of teaching and wanted all section teachers to work together according to a traditional lesson plan. In another theme, the teachers shared that they developed a deeper and clearer conceptual knowledge of science through participating in STEAM pedagogy. Even English language teachers who were a part of the study discovered that they were capable of completing science and math-related projects very easily. During their hands-on training, they were used to modify and adapt their lesson plans according to STEAM concepts. They worked on lesson organization, lesson sequencing. They identified the prerequisites and background knowledge that needed to be activated when they taught their own students. And they also prepared teaching resources from recycled and low-cost materials. So it was a very enriching experience for them. Another major finding was an increase in a sense of agency and self. The language teachers who participated in the STEAM module said that STEAM education improved their self-image and confidence as teachers, and they thought that they solve any problem now, which is tied directly to what the other panelists and Dr. Asma Shahid Qazi have said earlier. The final theme was a call of action, which highlighted the need to educate school administrators. And this is very important because they had to be made aware about the applicability, the positive outcomes, the possibilities within STEAM education. So picking up market catchphrases and the newest in terminologies is not enough. The participants felt that it is important to make the administrators appreciate the basis of STEAM philosophy and the need for specialized lessons and materials at school level. Without that support, the teachers felt that they would be powerless to bring about any change and introduce STEAM at school level. So we can see from the outcomes of the study that they are validating and reiterating the same themes which have already been discussed. And I feel that they are universal when we are talking about implementation of STEAM education at any level, in any place, in any part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shrakuta, for pointing that out, because yes, when it comes to STEM and STEAM, everyone thinks that they can just take a plunge into it without absorbing the real essence of what STEM and STEAM is and what is the right approach to do that. So yes, so it's not an easy job. First, you have to be to understand the whole essence yourself before becoming a STEM or STEAM instructor, right? So thank you so much. Fatma Zara, our next guest. She's a year 2 MBBS student at Aga Khan University. Fatma, what I would like to ask you is that students who are not good at mathematics, it is usually said that they can go into medicine. So what do you have to say about it?
Thank you so much for giving me this chance. Before I answer your question, I would just like to sort of tell a little story how I ended up here in a panel of such esteemed women in STEM. So we're basically planning to launch a robotics society within Aga Khan University, and that's how we contacted Mr. Aftab Khan. And then he said that he told us about this meeting that's going to take place. And he asked that, do you want to be a part of this panel? And I said, I would love to, but look at the other panelists. I mean, they're so accomplished women in STEM, and like, I stand nowhere. I'm just a medical student and I'm, learning things right now. But he said something. He said that we are working on student empowerment programs. So we would love to have you as a representative of the students. And I would really like to thank him for giving this opportunity, because I feel this is something that's missing in our system. So thank you so much, Mr. Aftab Khan, for giving me this chance. And now coming back to your question about mathematics and medicine. So I always knew I had to come into this field of medicine, but I enjoyed maths as well. I studied this in A-levels and O-levels, and I had maths. So the thing is, what we knew what medicine is that it's all about learning and memorizing and anatomy and biochemistry and, learning those bones and nerves and muscles and their names. This is right. That's true. That's what we're expected to know as medical students. But then there is another aspect of medicine that the medical students are expected to know, and that's their ability to make quick decisions, right? To analyze, to think logically, to make the differential diagnosis. So I feel that's the point where subjects like mathematics, statistics, problem solving ability comes into play, right? Because if you haven't trained your brain in this manner, you won't be able to sort of do these things, right? To make those decisions quickly. So and I feel that this is something you can't learn or memorize a day before. It's like a process. It's like learning a skill. So I would highly encourage students who want to pursue career in medicine that please don't run away from maths, and don't think it's a monster. It's going to train your brain in a manner that you will look at things with a different perspective. So it's not just learning anatomy books, it's actually applying that knowledge when it comes to clinics, and when it comes to even for surgeons, I mean, when they have to take decisions. So that's how that of course nobody's going to ask you to do integration here or differentiation here or binomial theorem to solve that. No, they're not going to ask you that, but your skills are going to help you to become good physicians and to become good healthcare workers. That's all from my side. And thank you so much for giving me this chance. And I wish best of luck for the team, RoboKids, American Association of Robotics and Technology, and all the panelists. Looking forward to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatma, for highlighting that it's a false perception that medical students don't need mathematics. I actually have friends who have done their degrees in computational biology. So yes, we have the intersection of all of that already available. Thank you. Thanks all of you. You all of you have added so much to the discussion that I think there are only a few points that are left to discuss. So based on your experience, April, would you like to share with us some experiences, and would you like to share that how can we add more motivation? We can make it engaging, and we can retain students in STEM because you have work experience in it.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. So one thing that I would add, and we've had such great panelists talking about all of these topics, is when we were talking about, for example, students with disabilities and the need for students to be engaged and have fun and integrate the A in STEAM, I would argue that we need to do that with all students. And so I think one way to really inspire, engage, and keep students interested in STEM is to make sure that we're always having fun. So there are lots of hands-on activities, many of them that can be done, as was talked earlier, with recycled materials, with low-cost materials. It becomes really important to remember that most people who are great scientists, great engineers, great technology experts are the ones who have vision, and those people who have vision see things in a whole different way. It's not just, as many of you have said, it's not just about learning equations and being able to be good at math or being good at engineering. It's about having vision, and that vision starts with really thinking outside of the box. You learn the basics, but then you add in hands-on learning, you add in excitement, you add in the arts, creative vision, and that's really where we start to prepare our students for STEM careers. Not only that, I think sometimes we forget, even with our highest achieving students, that this is supposed to be fun. I love what I do every day. I love going to work. I love working with lots of creative people. And it's that fun and that passion that is really important. And yes, we want our students to get great jobs. We want them to take care of their families. We want to be able to support our families. But at the same time, it's also about having passion and creativity for what we're doing. Otherwise, we can't solve those difficult problems. When I think about work at NASA, oftentimes we are solving problems that we don't have any answers for. So we can't look up statistics in a book. We can't just use numbers to do something like that. We have to have creativity, and we need to think about vision. We need to think about where we want to go and what we want to do. So I would encourage all of you, no matter what your resources are, to get students thinking creatively. And that doesn't need expensive materials. I grew up in a very small rural town, and we didn't have lots of expensive technology or resources. We had to use our creativity, and I would recommend that you do the same. If you take a look at NASA resources for education, you'll see that many of our activities are actually structured so that you can use recycled materials, you can use very low cost types of things. It doesn't require a whole lot. And so my final advice for all of you is to keep inspiring your students, show them what joy there is in STEM and what good can come out of solving problems both here on Earth and if we're traveling out into space there as well. So thank you very much for this opportunity to share with these amazing experts on this panel and with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Just one last check with Sana Ziafat, because she wasn't able to speak earlier. Sana, if you are with us and you can speak, you're the only panelist left who wasn't able to speak. So I'm just going to give you the mic to you if you are able to speak. Sana, can you hear me? And can you speak up, please? Sana Ziafat?
She was here earlier. Her name is gone now.
Yeah, I could see her name. That's right. But she wasn't able to, we weren't able to hear her. So I'm just giving her one chance if she's able to speak now. Sana, can you speak, please? I think maybe there's some internet issue. So she's joining again. Sana, are you able to speak, please, now? Okay, I think it's going to be next time, no problem. We're going to have more such discussions. And for sure, both Sana as well as everybody else will get a chance to not only speak, but also more in terms of actual implementation based on all that we've heard, the insights that we have gathered today. I have been taking notes very vigorously, trying to keep up with my typing as fast as I was hearing all these valuable insights. And based on these, we are going to come up with specific programs, as I had said earlier, and with each of these organizations which are involved, we are going to implement best practices in the institutes. Thank you so much, and we are going to wrap up the meeting now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
You're so fat.
Thank you, everyone.
You're so
But timing.
You're so dog water.
We can end the meeting now. I think we've got some.
You look like Sai Smaran.
You can leave now. Everybody can leave now.
Hello. You're so fat. Sir, are you Sai Smaran?
Remove them from the room.
You look like Sai Smaran. Hello, Prabhu. Hello. Hello, Prabhu. Hello.